And I knew that if I did a good job for them, I could grow. And I did. I started doing other products and services. So it changed my livelihood and my trajectory. I had a business now that was headed, sky was the limit.
Hello, and welcome to the Perfect Franchise Podcast.
I'm Kris, and joining me is my wonderful co-host, Andrea.
In this podcast, we're on a mission to help you discover all that franchising has to offer.
We'll explore expert strategies, interview successful franchise owners, and give you the tools to make informed decisions.
So whether you're considering your options or you're ready to take that plunge, we're here to support you every step of the way.
So let's jump into today's episode. Hi, welcome to another episode of the TPF podcast. Today, Andrea and I are really excited to have Matt and Adam Cahill with us. They are the co-founders of Supply Pointe. Gentlemen, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Kris. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're happy to have you on. So, Matt, why don't you start us out? Tell us, what is Supply Pointe? Let's start there.
That is a great question. Supply Pointe is a name that my son came up with because that's really what we do. We're a supply point for industrial America. And, there's a lot of products and services that industrial America uses. And that's what we try to provide. The blood, sweat, and tears of a company is their product. They got to get it packaged, many times palletized, and then put on a truck or wherever and sent off to its destination. We help with all those components after the product is created to get it processed properly and out the door.
So how old is Supply Pointe? Where'd you get started? How did it become a company? Give us kind of the origin story here.
Yeah, well, I'll handle that one too, if that's okay. The company is 20. Supply Pointe started in Cincinnati, and it was in 2002 that I actually got busy doing what I'm doing. I had to think for a second there on what my anniversary date there was. But 2002 is when I got started, and I was out selling freight programs, to be honest with you. That was my background. That's what I knew the best. So I was out selling freight programs, making some headway. And then customers asked me to source other products for them. The first thing they asked me to source was pallets. And I didn't know anything about pallets, but I did some homework and asked a lot of folks and did some research. But I also got the shopping list from the customer. What's working, what's not working, how can we improve things for you? Got all of that wired down with them, and then I brought back a pallet program that I knew was better than what they had. So now I'm in the freight business and I'm in the pallet business. The same thing happened with other products and services. I was asked to source bulk bags, lumber, Gaylord boxes, new and recycled, manufactured, corrugated. These are all products that industrial America uses on a regular basis. And quite frankly, some of it I knew about, some of it only a little bit, but I researched and found out what the customer was really looking for and brought them back something better than what they had. And that's how this company got started. I always say that the customer created Supply Pointe because I went out there with an idea in my head of freight, and the customers had other ideas. They wanted me to be a source for other things besides just freight.
Okay.
I love that. It's great. So go ahead, Kris.
Yeah, I need to ask this because I don't get these kind of businesses don't come naturally to me, in my understanding. So when I hear the words freight, I think, oh, you have a fleet of trucks and semis and trailers and all this. So what is the reality? What do you do, and where's that line stop? What do you don't do?
We have freight partners that we work with. There's a lot of licensing and insurance and a lot of things that go into having your own assets in the freight world. And what we do is we act as agents for the freight companies that we partner with. And we have seamless operations with them. For instance, if we go out and we talk to a customer about freight, the first thing we typically do is, are you having a lane there of some kind that you're having difficulty with, maybe shipping from Charlotte to Cincinnati that we can take a look at and quote out for you? That's how it begins. And we have freight partners that will then quote that out, talk to the customer, get all the particulars. They do all the grunt work, I guess, as far as getting that information that is required so that the shipment can take place. And then they also have sales folks that will talk to the customer on an ongoing basis to try to get more business, make sure they're happy, and so forth. They supplement what we do. So you can plant a seed for freight and all of a sudden that seed can grow in from one lane to multiple lanes because they like who they're working with. So that's how we roll on freight.
So it sounds like there's some optimization in there. There's adding efficiencies. There's helping people figure out how you're getting something from point A to point B, and going in and sort of, you're acting like an agent. So sort of, is it a little bit like a middleman?
Yeah, I mean, you could absolutely say that. We're taking two parties, bringing them together, and then managing the process. We're making sure that what the customer wants and needs is happening, and we also make sure that our vendors are doing what they need to be doing to be good vendors. So we put parties together that we think are a good fit, and then we help manage the process.
Yeah. Okay. So Adam, when did you guys start franchising? Because this is not the typical business or business model or industry that someone thinks about when they think franchising, right? They're typically thinking food. And so here we're talking about freight and logistics, shipping. How'd you guys decide to franchise? When did you decide to franchise, and how long you been doing it?
Well, thanks for the question. So, real quick, a little bit about my background. I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, and went to Miami Ohio University up there. And I tell you that because I actually was destined to be a school teacher, and I came to Charlotte to actually teach high school social studies. I coached sports, and I was here for about 3 or 4 years, and then all of a sudden, I experienced budget cuts and teacher layoffs during the Great Recession. And at a young age, in my late 20s, I was starting to have a quarter life crisis. What do you do with your career now that I might not be able to use this master's degree and teach? And so I looked at a lot of different avenues, but I really appreciated what my father, Matt, in Cincinnati had created, where he had created a business up in his marketplace that allowed for him to have a flexible schedule, but build a really unique business where he was enjoying multiple streams of residual income in the industrial world that's worth trillions of dollars of industry. I learned quickly from talking to him that manufacturing and distribution was a pretty resilient industry. We've seen that over pandemics and wars and recessions. I mean, it's been around since the test of time. It'll be here well after we're gone. So knowing that he was very successful in a short amount of time and trusting my grit, hard work, and determination, I was pretty hungry. I decided I can do that, or at least I'm going to try everything I have in my arsenal to make myself successful. So I went out there. I actually started my business in April of 2011. That was my anniversary for it. And I was very scared and nervous, young 20 year. I was in my 20s. But I knew that if I put my blood, sweat, and tears in this thing, I might have a shot. And what I didn't realize is this came natural to me. Even though I didn't have any sales experience or business experience, I really connected with the customers. I was going around to these industrial parks, finding decision makers. It could be as simple as talking to the gentleman on a forklift and having a conversation about their pallet program. And I started putting sales together relatively quick, just like he had kind of described. So my business, I was officially in business at that point. I put a deal together within my first couple of weeks. And then I put another deal together and another deal together, all within a first month or two. But it was residual income. And I think that's what really, made it special. So these people were ordering like clockwork once a week. And I knew that if I did a good job for them, I could grow. And I did. I started doing other products and services. So it changed my livelihood and my trajectory. You know, I had a business now that was headed, sky was the limit. There's no cap on how much money you can make. My dad makes a joke. If you don't like how much money you're making, go out and get yourself a raise. And you don't have to be waiting for someone. It's not reactionary selling. You have to wait for someone to call and put an order. You can go out and meet people and create your magic every day. And I think that's why I was successful, because I wasn't scared to go do that. And I was really hungry. And because we had 2 locations, 8 hours apart, we're obviously different in age, and I had no sales experience, but we made it. We decided, because this was a life-changing event that took place in both of our lives, that maybe franchising would be something we could look at doing. Because, you know, if you got a great idea, share it with your friends and make some new friends. And so that's what we've done, is we've brought in a lot of business owners, franchisees over the years. We started doing that in 2018 and 19, controlled, steady growth, of course, right? But we've got guys in here that have been here since then, pushing 7 figures in gross profit income, which is very impressive. We went through pandemics. As you guys know, that was not fun or easy. And during the pandemic, we paused some things like royalties and fees and covered that. But our franchisees exploded and grew even during that. So we realized we had something very special and unique. And we decided, hey, let's really make sure we're organized and put a lot of infrastructure in place to support a new cast of franchisees, because we want to take this thing to the next level, but we also want to do it intelligently so everybody comes with us and is successful. And that's what we're determined to do, is not just bring in franchisees, but the right people. And so they're successful. And so they realize their dreams and they make the money that they're hoping to get. We really take that serious. And that's why Kris decided to franchise.
So Adam, hit on that a little bit more though. Tell me a little bit about the franchise model. It's pretty unique. So explain that and how it works to us.
I never thought as a young kid I'd be selling pallets for a living. I thought I'd be playing center field for the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah.
But here I am. I will just say this again. I touched on the fact that logistics, this is pushing a $16 trillion industry worldwide. The worldwide economy is predicated on the health and growth of manufacturing and distribution. And so what we're doing here is not rocket science, right? We are going out into our individual marketplaces. I happen to be in Charlotte, North Carolina, but I don't have to go but 35, 45 minutes away from home. I'm home based. And I go into the industrial parks. I talk to these customers. And because it's B2B and I can be proactive and talk to these people about things like pallets, boxes, bulk bags, drums, totes, and then of course we can help them move their freight from A to B. I found that this model really allowed for these multiple streams of residual income that can become integrated in with these accounts. And you can really develop these relationships with your customers that allow for us to grow our book of business, but also help our companies, our customers, not shut down. We keep their production lines alive and well. And I think if a franchisee comes in and realizes, hey, I have an opportunity, the sky's the limit here. And, if I just connect the manufacturer to the customer and I do a good job supporting that program, there's a chance I can grow and enjoy my fruits of my labor, but also they're going to make sure I protect them. The customers don't want to lose a good vendor, quality vendor. And that's the thing that allows us to flourish. So I think that's what makes us unique, is the opportunity to have residual income, but multiple streams of residual income. Get hometown discounted pricing, and a lot of our vendors, their business is predicated by working with folks like ourselves, distributors. And so there's a lot of potential money to be made, and we've done a good job, I think, providing resources for our franchisees to tap into and utilize for their growth trajectory.
Okay, that's helpful. So, Matt, when Adam was talking about when he started his location, the second location, he had to go into industrial parks, So it sounds like franchisees need to be able to sell. So 2 questions. Who are you looking for, and what are they doing day to day?
Well, sales background is helpful. It really is, but it's not essential. Adam, for instance, is our top performer and was, early on. And he's had no sales experience, no sales training, nothing. What he does have is integrity, communication skills, and ability to connect with people quickly, and then be conscientious and resourceful for that customer. So he's listened to his customers, taken to heart what they're trying to accomplish by asking intelligent, open-ended questions, and then getting solutions for them. Would sales be helpful to people? Yeah, of course it would be, because it's a different world. You got to understand that sometimes people say no. You can't take it personal. You can't get discouraged. So when you're a sales warrior, you know about that, and you've got the scar tissue to show for it, right? But it's not essential in our business, because customers are looking for somebody that they can partner with. They're not looking for a lot of razzmatazz. They're looking for good quality people that care about what they're trying to accomplish, care about what their company's production schedules look like, and want to partner with them so that they can count on them. What customers don't tell you, and I think this is a real key to our business model, is behind all those pallets and corrugated and so forth is a production that these folks engage in. And all these different components have to come in a timely fashion for production to take place in a proper fashion and meet the deadlines and so forth. Pallets may not sound exciting, but if you don't deliver them on time, if you deliver the wrong size, if you don't give them the right quantity or whatever, all of a sudden their production can get disrupted. And that is catastrophically expensive to a company when that happens. That's when the president comes down and says to the guy, hey, what happened with our pallets? Why don't we have pallets here? So that's the key, I think, to our business is customers want to connect with somebody that they like and trust, that they can count on. If something goes haywire on their end and they ran out of pallets, or the Gaylord boxes are gone, or whatever it may be, they need to be able to get a hold of somebody quickly that cares and will work with them to try to provide a solution. That's how this business got built. When customers see it work that way, they want to give you more business. That's how we ended up with multiple residual streams of income. It's because the customers created that, and they created it because of the need that they have. And the production behind the scenes is a big factor in all of that.
So, Adam, tell us a little bit about the support. Your franchisee comes into your system. They don't need that sales background, but they have to have sort of that relationship building. So a lot of it is they're out boots on the ground. They're trying to make those connections. But what are they getting from you to help support them, to get this business up and running, to even find customers?
Well, it's funny because at an early stage of our franchise growth and development, I was at the IFA many years ago, and one of the speakers had talked about the island feeling that a franchisee might feel when they join a franchise system. And as a former school teacher, I thought about my students and how would it feel if one of my students was on an island and felt like they weren't getting the support they needed. And here we have, business owners that are putting their livelihood at stake. They're investing a lot of money to come here, and we take that very seriously, and we feel like we've got a responsibility to support these guys. So we've spent a lot of time, money, effort, energy, and resources, and we still do, by the way. We're always evolving and looking for new wrinkles to find ways to support. But what we've done is created a lot of different support mechanisms for our franchisees. And quite frankly, my biggest advice is please use our resources. We've got 3 support coaches. We've invested in Sandler sales training for these folks. Everybody that comes on board gets Sandler sales training and a lifelong coach. They've got a business coach that reviews their P&Ls, sets goals with them, goes over business planning with them. We've got a Supply Pointe coach that just, hey, how's it going? That checks in. And then we have an IT and technology support specialist as well. Not only do they have those 4 coaches at their fingertips, we reach out proactively, but we try to balance them. We don't want to come off as a micromanaging, boss, but we want them to understand we are here, and we try to create a good culture and a lot of collaboration for them to bounce ideas off each other. We meet twice a month. We're a sales rally, and then we have something called the mastermind monthly meeting as well, where the franchisees and everybody shows up, and we might have a vendor come in, or we might have a certain topic at hand that's important. So there's tons of resources and support at their fingertips, whether they're having QuickBooks or HubSpot issues, they don't know how to close a customer, or they just want to start planning their next quarter and their financials. And hey, I grew by 20% this last quarter, let's celebrate. But not only that, we also have created inside sales support as well. They have a sales coordinator that's helping with lead generation, account management, or vendor sourcing. We've got an entire department, and that's always growing and evolving, of course, too. So when I go back to that comment I made about the island feeling, I know having a location in Charlotte and my dad having his in Cincinnati, we still run our locations, and we put ourselves in their shoes. How would I feel if I had this support, or how would I not feel, or if I didn't have the support? And so we also talked to our franchisees and got a lot of their feedback. Some of the guys have been here since before COVID, 18, 19. They have a loud voice, as they rightfully should, and they've earned. And we have mentor programs and cohorts as well to help these guys. And now we are enjoying RFQs for national accounts to support these guys. Our next initiative is an e-commerce strategy that the franchisees have actually approached me with and are on the team as far as building it out, which I'm very excited about. So I'm probably missing a lot of stuff that we give for support. But one more thing I just want to add real quick, with training, the initial training and the onboarding. I'm a big believer that a new business owner should be launched within 30 days. I think that's imperative to say here today. We don't want this to drag into 60, 90 days. 30 days, let's go. The first week, we want them out in the field, getting some bumps and bruises. We give them homework to go out into the marketplace, tell us what happened. Obviously, there's an intelligent strategy that we put behind that. But within 2 to 3 weeks, they've probably completed their instructor training, and it's a little bit on their schedule too. We want them coming to Charlotte, North Carolina for a couple of days. It's where they spend time with me and my team. And we show them how to sell in real time. We go out and meet customers. It's unpredictable. It's a great experience. And I can tell you, we eat well when they come to Charlotte. But also by about the end of the second day, they're already chomping at the bit to get back home. They're like, I got it. The light bulb goes off. It happens every time. And then they go crush it. And it's very exciting to see them go, I got this. Let me get out of here. And then the next week they do, and they call me with quoting opportunities and tell me how excited they are. And that's what makes it special.
Guys, how does this business scale? Like, can it just be me forever? Or who am I hiring? Can I hire more people to sell for me? Operational employees? What's that look like?
I think as a guy who started this thing back in 29, I just knew to be an owner operator. Right? That's all I knew. And I'm just being very transparent. But I really worked hard. I was self-employed and I made more money than I ever made before. But boy, I was working my tail off. And so, something didn't feel right with that. Most recently, I've been reading a book called The Transformation Trilogy by Dan Sullivan, if you've heard of it. And he talks about, there's 3 books in there, who, not how. So he talks about who can do your admin work for you, who can do your sales for you, who can help grow or take some of this, give some time back for you. And so they can start to run some of these departments so you can get on the business instead of staying in it. And it's a force multiplier. And then he talks about the second book called The Gap and the Gain. It's going to be tough for a minute, but remember the outcome, the gain is well worth it. And then the most important part is 10x is easier than 2x. If you're just trying to double what you've done, that's short-term goals. But if you're thinking big, hairy, audacious goals, then you start putting systems in place to hit those crazy numbers. So I think you need, Kris, to answer your question a little bit more specifically, I always say if you don't have an admin, you are the admin. So at some point you're going to, you got to be out meeting with your customers. That's where the sales and the magic happen. So when the POs and the invoices and setting up customers starts to become a little too tedious, let's get somebody to do that. And then when you want your sales to rock and roll and explode, let's go get a salesperson. And I'll just say this, we are proof of the pudding that scaling works. It absolutely is a game changer. I'm in Charlotte. I'll just tell you a quick story. He's in Cincinnati. We have 2 very fine young gentlemen that are out in the field right now as we speak. It's pouring down rain right now in Charlotte, and I've got a gentleman making calls right now, and he loves it. I've got a guy that's in his mid to late 20s. He's doing outside sales activities. He's brought on about 25 to 30 customers over the last 6 months, and then we're looking at a 500,000 to 600,000 gross profit run rate for 2026 already in his half year, and he can say the same up in Cincinnati. I've shared that success and those wins with our fellow franchisees, and they are rapidly going into scaling mode. Multiple franchisees are interviewing sales personnel immediately, and they've already got their admin because they want to build an empire and they don't want a job. They want a business that can hit 7 figures, and they don't want to do it on their own. They want to do it fast and ramp up quickly with getting that help. So you can absolutely scale this business, Kris. I just want to say one more thing, and then I'll allow my dad to speak to this. This is not a normal business, and that's a good thing. Our vendors are doing hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue. Our customers can be in the north of hundreds of millions to some of them are worldwide billions. For us to be trying to do this as a one-man band, when you've got that type of growth potential, build a team that can absolutely get you a huge chunk of that pie in your local marketplace, because the opportunities are endless and we don't have a lot of overhead. We're not carrying storefronts and machineries or inventory or having to do the deliveries ourselves. As my dad said earlier, the manufacturer will ship the product from A to B for you. And you need to make good relationships and build rapport with those suppliers, because they'll love on you and give you great programs and products and pricing, but also love on your customer because they're going to know that you won't let the production line shut down, and they will give you other opportunities to sell them other different products and services. And so when you come to scaling, Kris, 2x would be me going out there and trying to duplicate what I did, but 10x would be putting a team underneath me that I can kind of run point on and grow and motivate. And we've got a great group of people here in Charlotte and Cincinnati. And that's what we did, is we were the flag station companies to do it, because that's what you should do as a franchisor, is go through the minefields, step on all the landmines and clear them out so the franchisees know what worked and didn't work. And I think we couldn't be more proud of what we've built in Cincinnati and Charlotte. We're very excited about that. So I know you want to probably, if my dad can add to that, I'm very passionate about that topic, as you could tell.
Yeah. No, great answer.
He covered a lot of the ground. There's not a whole lot to add. I'll just simply say these salespeople we brought on board have only been out there for 7 months, and they've taken to the business very quickly. Adam did a lot of the training with these guys, spent several days with them and so forth. But the training, we have some very good, extensive training, and it's ongoing and so forth. But we had the right people out there that were wanting to, really get ahead in life. They went out there and hustled. They have us do it. They can call anytime. And in only 7 months' time, these guys are just lighting it up. So when people are looking at our franchise model and wondering how quickly they can get launched, how quickly they can become successful, that depends on them. The business is out there. I mean, what we're in the middle of is capitalism. It's the lifeblood of the world economy. That's what we're doing. It's not a niche business. When we had COVID a few years back, we didn't know how we would do in COVID. Our business grew. Everybody was calling us for help with pallets and so forth. You wouldn't believe it. And we were able to help a lot of folks, a lot of big companies, because of the way our network is set up. So we're really excited about what we've built. It keeps growing. We keep finding new ways to improve it. And we're super excited about it.
That's great. Well, thank you both, Matt and Adam. We really appreciate this. This is kind of the time of the podcast where we're going to pivot a little and kind of tap into what you've learned as you've ventured into franchising. And so think of this as advice you'd give somebody not on buying Supply Pointe, but any franchisee. And so the first question, and either you can jump in on this, is what's one thing that you're going to tell somebody who's contemplating becoming a franchisee? So they're in that phase of exploring and they're thinking about it. What's one piece of advice you would give them?
I can help answer that first, if that's okay. One thing that him and I think, I don't think we've ever not asked this question to a potential franchisee at Supply Pointe, but for those looking to start a business in franchising or just not franchising, but their own anywhere, I always ask them, what's their why, right? Why this, but it's not necessarily Supply Pointe, but why do you want to own a business? What's your end game, right? Whatever that mental creation is in your mindset, it's going to take a lot of work to physically build something to realize that creation, right? So what is your why? And then I also kind of hit them with a secondary question, whatever that goal is, are they interested in achieving that goal, or are they committed to achieving that goal? Because as someone from my side, where I'm trying to grow and support and love and provide the resources, I can teach you to fish. I can't make you go out and fish. You've heard that analogy. And so know what your why is, and if I can't want it more than they do. And I really want it for them, but they've got to want it and have the drive themselves. That's my advice to anybody looking, not just at franchising, but owning their own business.
I love that, interest versus commitment. That's great. I like that line. So Matt, I'm going to throw you the second question. So now somebody's already decided to buy a franchise. They're already in it. They're in that first year where it's challenging. What advice are you giving them in that first year?
Well, remember why they became a franchise in the first place. We've already walked the minefield. We learned the hard way in a lot of ways, but we put together a pretty good program. And if you're looking to buy a franchise, it's because you want that. You want a model that's already been test driven, right? You don't want to go out there and try to create it all on your own. So follow the model, be a team player, and synergize with your colleagues. We have something called Base Camp that we instituted a while back, where all our franchisees can come in and share notes, share strategies, work together collaboratively to try to come up with new ideas and so forth. People love that, and they're synergizing all the time with that. And I think that's a really big key to what our growth is all about. We have protected territories, and we encourage teamwork, and that is something we're seeing growing as well in our system.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you both. Really appreciate you coming on today. I think it's great to hear about these businesses that aren't as common to people, right? These B2B businesses that people don't think out there. But I think one of the things I heard from both of you, which I think is great, is you don't necessarily have to be this great salesperson to get into this. You have to be somebody who's willing to go out, meet with customers, shake hands, network, and really help them sort of solve that. And there's a lot of opportunity there. And I think the support that you bring to your franchisees is really big. And there's a lot of opportunities. So we really appreciate you coming on today and telling us a little bit about Supply Pointe. So if you're thinking about franchising, remember that there's no one size fits all. but the perfect franchise for you is definitely out there. To explore your options, visit theperfectfranchise.com and click on Let's Talk to schedule a call with a consultant on the Perfect Franchise team. We look forward to connecting with you again on the next episode.